This seemed urgent, child. Now, what's going on?
So,
you so pretty.
You know how you need, like, your birth certificate and stuff to get your real ID. So, I've been asking my mama for, my birth certificate so I can see, like, to get my stuff. So, my mama been, like, withholding my birth certificate. I'm telling my grandma, which I call my nana, I'm telling my nana, like, where's my birth certificate? Like, can you tell my mom to give it to me? Yeah. So, my grandma, she sit me down and she's like, oh, well, like, I got something to tell you. And I'm like, what is it? Yeah, why my grandmama, my mama, and my mama really my sister? Like, what the fuck is really going on? So, now, like, I'm asking my mom, I'm like, girl, so, like, you been raising me as your daughter this whole time. Like, you my sister. Yeah, everybody got some explaining to do because I'm really confused at this point. Like, so my mama is really my sister and my grandma really my...
Kimberly's my mother?
Yes.
Talking about don't tell lies. Keeping secrets. But you kept one from me.
Yeah, so I'm back with part 2.
I'm glad
so
you
basically
came
my grandma's husband, which is my mom. Yeah, I keep saying what I'm saying, but basically my mama's husband was in the military. All I know is that he would, like, leave frequently and, to go work and stuff like that. So what I'm assuming is my grandma basically had a baby out of her marriage.
It ain't the first time.
And my mom or my sister and her husband raised me, if it all makes sense. And it's like, people are like, are you mad? Or like, how do you deal with it? I just don't know how to feel. I'm just here. I'm just, going through the motion and just figuring everything out.
As you can see, the title of this video is General Misbehavior Can Carry Over into Generational Curses. And what I mean by that is, back in the day, a lot of people are still today, people sweep things under the rug with the assumption that they won't have to tell the truth, be called to the table on it, or it'll just go away miraculously. And they just go through life and just as long as they've made the best for you in the situation that you don't even know about or that you didn't even opt in some situations, I can understand someone taking on the role as a parent or caregiver because maybe it's an unsafe environment. Maybe it's unhealthy. Maybe it can do more damage and harm than good. I am not here to judge the reasoning of it because I'm so grateful that her sister, who she thought was her mother, her sister who she thought was her mother and her sister's husband actually took her in, because a lot of times people find themselves displaced, homeless, in foster care, going to and fro because somebody's concealing a pregnancy or concealing a child, and then they have to grow up with step parents or people that have stepped into the shoe and filled the shoes of the absentee parent, and they never know until they stumble across something like needing records for school or needing records for whatever it is for a job. Say they needed to get a blood type match, and they realize right in the hospital that the blood type you have don't match your parents, and it's a whole nother discussion. So I think ultimately we have to get into the habit of telling the bare naked truth, because we're human, we're flawed, and nobody's perfect. And the biggest thing you could do, the most respectful thing you could do out of a disrespectful and or for whatever reason it happened situation is be truthful and honest and let the person process that in their own time, in their own reasoning, in their own way. We can't impose an injunction on the innocent. We can't say, oh, I didn't did this, I ain't gonna say nothing. They're gonna have to deal with it. They don't need to know. Yes, they do. They do need to know. Like, for real. Good, bad, or indifferent. If it was an inappropriate situation like incest or something crazy, then you could tell them when they're mature enough to psychologically endure it through the right help clinically, through therapy or whatever it is. But you definitely need to share with them before they have to find out like this. Maybe they had a date that they were going to sit that little girl down and discuss that with her. I don't know, but the ultimate thing is she had to request something to get to something else, to find out something that she thought was her whole life one way, and it was not. And all I can say is adults, parents, people, we got to do better in what we may or may not have had our hand in, and bring out the truth and cancel out the lie. I had this happen to me in a previous relationship where a young lady ran down on my ex and said, "You're my father, you're on my birth certificate." And there was a slew of reasons why he said this and she said that, and then the mother didn't say a thing. And then other people that knew and heard this story back in the day, this person was going to college, needed her own transcripts, needed her own birth certificate, needed her own things for whatever reason, and she stated that this was her father. And we realized we was in a relationship with somebody. You don't let a life go unnoticed, and it's very easy to get it found out. And people that don't want to take the time to validate or find out the truth and the proof and give it to the person that they're with, that's suspect. I should have known something then, character trait. But anyway, when people don't care to confirm or disconfirm or clear the air on certain topics, it's a level of guilt there. Something questionable in their story. So you don't want to have somebody respect you up here, in this girl's case, respect you here, and then she has to recalibrate her thinking for her whole entire life, 18 years and back, as to how she felt about you guys. And she probably felt something in her gut. She probably didn't see enough pictures. She probably had to, little things came up throughout her life where it was questionable, but hey, I love these people. They're taking great care of me. And the woman that's her grandmother was really her mother. So she was in her life. So, you know, she didn't have probably a bad upbringing or whatever the case may be, but it is still a level of hurt and trauma that has now been imposed because she has been blindsided. She has been deceived in the highest caliber. And you don't want to train up a child in misbehavior. It's the word says train up a child and the way they should go, and they would not depart from it. You don't want to train up a child in deception and lying and covering up things, and then you wondering why you're getting so many problems with them later, or they have to go through different personality struggles because now they don't know who they are, and they got to just go on the stories of what we tell them. That's not the way to be. The best way to be is transparent, because they're going to have their own obstacles to face in life and their own reasoning why they did what. But let's not start the next generation offline saying, this your baby. Well, it really ain't his baby. You know, we get that all the time. Somebody saying it's somebody's baby, and then it's questionable. And then these kids have to grow up with that story attached to the gift of life. You know what I'm saying? It cancels out all the joy, and now it has all this doubt. So we got to do better. And I don't care what generation you came from. I just know back in my day, they swept a lot of things under the rug. I didn't find out things about my birth and some of the things moving forward until after I was 21. And it came out in a Jonan session, ranking. We was firing on each other, and it came out something about a deformality when I was born. Why did I find that out at 21 after I had 4 kids? Child, I wouldn't have had all them kids if I'd have known something was wrong. But then you have to start piecing it together. What happened? What was the instance? What was there abuse when mom was pregnant, which it was? What happened? What caused it? What was the deformality? Is it a blood trait? Is it some type of whatever? You know what I'm saying? You feel hopeless at that moment. And the only thing that gave me strength, I could say, is God and my kids. I know it because I went through so much. And man, you don't want to do that to nobody. What's wrong? Like, no matter what mistake we make, God is the only one who can judge us. And sometimes when we bring everybody together and put everything on the table, when she's psychologically mature enough to handle it, you'd be surprised. They have an inclination. The Holy Spirit indwells everyone who hears and abides by it. And you get this intuition and gut feeling, or you may overhear a conversation where you be like, I thought that at 7. I thought that at 13. Now I'm 18, 19. And it makes sense now. You just got to cast your cares upon the Lord. Give him everything and let him give you the time and the space and the place to do it. And it'll link up and it'll be like, hey, I'm glad you told me. You know what I mean? Like, y'all love me despite of y'all mistakes and errors. I wish you would have told me. Like, it could turn around so much more better and perfectly rolled out so everybody can grow together and get the burdens lifted off their hearts and their minds. Okay? Release yourself from this fraud mentality. Release yourself from these fraudulent stories and facades that you're putting up. Child, please don't ruin nobody else's life. Okay? You know I gotta do it. This is Miss Motivational Mogul Mindset, Ava Cherie, the Inspire, and this is the Unpopular Opinion Accountability Show. God's love and God's peace to you all.